This video has been sponsored by Squarespace, and this is the final part stopping me from driving my Hyundai I30N. Okay, maybe I can drive it forwards and backwards, but at the moment I've got no steering because you may remember from last time we changed this whole corner of suspension because it was damaged in the crash that this car was involved in. So after I've done this, I said I could drive it, but maybe not legally. And that final part that is going to stop me from driving the car at the moment anyway is the track rod end. Last time we didn't have one that we could fit to the car, but now we do. And as simply as screwing that on, one bolt, and that is fastened onto the car and we should have steering again. I simply set this up to where the old one was, but we will need tracking in the future to make sure that the car drives straight. Then the final bit, something I've not seen in a long time, is a split pin. That's by far the easiest job that we've got to do in this video, but it is a job ticked off the list. So the Hyundai is now magically teleported to the back garage, and we're not going to do anything on the front today. We're actually going to concentrate on the back because the back bumper has a little bit of damage, well, quite a lot of damage because, well, the rear skin has been absolutely annihilated. It's got a hole in it here. Its mounting points are not looking good, and also the rear quarter is not healthy either because, well, that's took a bit of a shunt too. Now, I wouldn't know necessarily what to do with this in order to get it back into shape, but luckily I know someone who does. You may remember Joe. Hi, Joe. Joe used to work for me and now works in a body shop which does insurance repairs. So essentially, this is you all day, isn't it?
No enough.
So Joe's brought all sorts of stuff with him, and we're going to now try and tackle getting this rear quarter back into shape. I haven't really got faith in me, but I have 100% faith in Joe, so we'll be alright. So the first step to getting this sorted is stripping it down. So we're going to get the lights out, we're going to get the bumper off, and see if there's anything else that we can take out to make access to this panel a little bit easier. Let's do this! The first thing which we've got to remove from the car is the rear light. Not the section in the boot, only the section in between the bumper and the rear quarter. There's two 10mm hidden under two little covers in the boot shut, and then it slides out of its retaining clips. Then straight onto the bumper skin itself. There was a couple of clips and a couple of 10mm hidden by those lights. Then for everything else, we really need to get the car up in the air. And that's because there's a few bolts in each of the wheel arch liners and also underneath the back bumper because the crash bar attaches in a very strange way. From memory, there was 4 Phillips head screws in each of the arches which hold on the arch liner to the bumper, and from underneath there are some clips which hold on the crash bar. Okay, I may have just missed filming taking this off, but it wasn't too exciting. But this bumper is a little bit strange because you've got like this solid crash bar cross member thing in the bumper, and it comes off with the bumper, which I haven't seen before, so that's a little bit odd. But everything else back here looks okay, that looks all good, but obviously we are going to have to do some repair work because this bumper, the skin itself has had it. Let's get this bit off. Joe, take it away. Nice work. So luckily this bumper bracket survived the accident, but Joe pops that off with his expertise. So next step before we can do anything with this is we've got to get it back to bare metal. So we have Grindy Boy. So before we can start really working the panel, we've got to get all of the paint off first. So using that grinder, we start taking away the paint to get it ready to be beaten back into shape. Now, some of you may know my background is detailing, so doing stuff like this for me is, well, it feels completely backwards. It feels wrong. Normally, I'd be polishing paint with a soft polishing pad and polish, but at the moment, I'm using an angle grinder. But Joe is doing his best to teach me this process so I can do it for myself, hopefully in the future, because practice really is the only way to learn. That was easy. So right at the bottom of the wheel arch, this had been pushed in, so Joe taps this out and slowly taps it back into shape. That was pretty good, actually.
Okay.
And as quickly as that is then done, and then we can start pulling out the more awkward sections of the panel. So Joe just uses a mini belt sander just to take off any last little bits of paint, because we want to try and get as clean a weld to the panel as possible. What's next then, Joe? Tell us what's next.
Got the miracle pull on it.
Miracle pull on here. We've got it back to metal, so what does that do? Does it weld bits to that?
Yeah, a couple of these tabs.
Yeah.
And pull a bar through there, then pull it out.
Pull it?
Yeah.
Do we heat it up?
No.
Is that hot?
No.
Is it, like, how can I feel how strong it is?
Yeah.
What? No way.
It's literally welded.
Isn't it? That's mad. So after I'd wrapped my head around how strong these tiny little welds are, Joe could then put more of these in a straight line down the panel where the damage is, so he could attach the bar and then the puller to that. So the way this works is it spreads the load over multiple areas over the panel, and then you use this puller to then stretch the metal back into its original shape. Now, we were working with fairly limited tools, and if you were doing this at a professional standard, then you'd have much more equipment on hand. But you can slowly see the metal starting to form back into its original shape, but this does also cause high spots, and these will need tapping down. But before we do that, we need to pull out any little low spots which are left, and Joe uses this kind of isolated puller which does the same thing as the other one, just on a much smaller, more precise way. And now it's my turn to make a mess of this job entirely, and what we're trying to do here, as I said earlier, is tap down those high spots, because you can't fill over high spots, if that makes sense. So we need to make sure that the panel is going to look completely flat when we're done. And at this point, although I thought it was looking pretty good, Joe still wasn't 100% happy. So he wanted to go in from behind the panel, which luckily was quite accessible, and then we used a piece of wood to actually beat the panel out from behind. This gave a much cleaner edge because we could be much more precise and also brutal with it, but again, once that was done, the high spots needed tapping down again. So we are now just about back in shape, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. Joe's just mixing up a bit of filler now, and we're just going to try and take off the low and, well, it's just the low spots, I guess, isn't it? So hopefully then it should look pretty straight. You'll see why in the future that I'm not too bothered about this repair being like 1000% perfect. So Joe then mixes up some filler and lays a skim of this all over the areas that we've been working, most of which will have to be removed by sanding. Now, I'm going to be real, I don't really like showing you guys bodywork, because a lot of you think that really good body shops use like zero filler and that anything involving filler is a bodge, where this just simply isn't the case. Every body shop uses filler. It's all about going through the process to get the end result looking right, and obviously you want to use as little filler as possible, but it's just one of those things. When it's got to be used, it's got to be used. Now we are going to have a quick break for some fresh pizza from a local little company who built their website using Squarespace. Squarespace is an online tool to help you build and run your own website. With easy to use templates, it's the perfect way to showcase how fantastic your product that you're wanting to sell actually is. You can drag and drop custom pictures, easily edit text, and they also have fantastic tools to help you optimize your SEO. They can help you get the most from your website with their marketing tools, and help you analyze your performance with cutting-edge analytics. So if you are wanting to build a website for a business you're thinking of starting up, or one that you already run, you know Squarespace is the place to go. And to help you slice in front of your competitors, Squarespace even has mobile optimization. So use code ChrisSlix to save yourself 10% off your first website or domain with Squarespace. But now food is done, let's get back to work. So the filler is now dry and ready to sand back, so Joe's going to block it. I'm going to help out, of course. And then we have also got a new rear bumper which needs all of the bits and bobs transferring over to it too, but first we have got to do this. How do we do it, Joe? Just like that?
Yep.
Nice. So with the sanding block, we start then to flat back the filler to get the panel back to its original shape. Like I said, most of the filler which was applied will also be removed. This is essentially used just to fill in the last few low spots that we couldn't get out by beating the panel. but it will also highlight any high spots too, like this one which Joe found, so he gave that another quick tap down before we went over it with the glaze. Okay, so we're now waiting to do a little bit more work in the rear quarter, but it just needs a bit of time. So the next thing we're going to look at is the bumper, or as you lot think I pronounce it, bumper. So here we have the old one here and the new one here. This is a genuine brand new bumper from Hyundai. It's Hyundai.
Hyundai, by the way.
And you can see why we're replacing it here. So we've got a massive crack and all this kind of gouging out of this one. But the actual trims and everything in this bumper are all, as far as I can tell, okay. There is a scuff on this parking sensor here, but that can be sorted by a body shop very, very easily. So what I'm going to do now is transfer everything over from this bumper into this one, and then that one can go on the car once this repair's done. So the skin for the bumper itself was actually surprisingly cheap from Hyundai, and it was only £200, which I thought was a really good price. Bumpers and the actual cost of them mainly comes from all the bits and accessories that go with them, which is precisely the reason why I want to try and find a complete front bumper rather than just buy it in bits. But while I'm transferring everything over, Joe then sands back the glaze with a DA. But everything here is pretty simple, really. The most strange part I thought was this, rear crossmember piece, which again was clipped onto the bumper, so I don't know how much it actually does. And then the final thing to remove from the old bumper is this kind of lower diffuser section, which was looking, even though in one piece, it really needed a good clean. So I went over this with a magic sponge and an all-purpose cleaner, which really, really brought it back to life. And once that was cleaned up and looking as good as new, we could then stick that onto the new bumper as the first piece and work backwards from there. And that just clipped in with 6 screws, 2 in the middle and 4 on the ends. And then once that was on, we could then pop on the rear crossmember. Oh, and also let's not forget these 2 lower grills as well. And then on with the rear crossmember. This clips in with 6 clips, 2 higher up and then 4 along the lower diffuser part, which fold over the bottom of it and then clip through, if that makes any sense. But in the time it took me to do this, Joe had absolutely smashed out that rear quarter and got it completely finished, bar a lick of paint anyway. So here is where we are at. The rear quarter is just about there. There's a few little tiny bits which you'll need to go over when the car gets painted, but that is absolutely fine for now. So now that is all sorted. The rear bumper is now reassembled, so we have the new one over here. So that is now ready to go on the car. It looks kind of good in satin black, I can't lie. So, Joe, are you ready to get this bumper on?
Yep.
Let's do this! So the dream team of me and Joe worked together to get the bumper back on the car. There's one plug for the exhaust valve and also one, I believe, for the parking sensors. So once those are plugged in, the bumper can be slotted onto the car and into the rear quarter clips. And then we can put the screws in underneath the lights and then pop the lights back into place too. So now the final step, just to protect this area so the bare metal doesn't rust and whatever else, we're just going to hit it with some primer and leave it like that until the car eventually goes to the body shop much further down the line. More specifically an etch primer, because this allows it to stick to the bare metal a lot better, but this will probably all be sanded off when it actually goes to the body shop. It's just more a temporary protective measure. It's not going to do loads though. So there we have it, the rear quarter is now repaired. As I said, we're not aiming for 1000%, you'll see in the future why that is. But it is absolutely fine for now. Joe has absolutely smashed it. The new rear bumper is on also, and that is going to look wicked when it's all painted up because, well, obviously it's brand new, so it could not look perfect. So very quickly it has started coming together because now, apart from paint, the back of the car is sorted, but there is still plenty of work to do up here.
Give you the world like I promised I would. Even though you wouldn't do the same.
So So on the whole, I'm pretty happy with that. I can't really complain. And like I said, there is very good reason why I've done it like this, but it will all be explained to you guys in the future. Now, next thing to look at is the front end, which is pointless starting to assemble at the moment because we have these tin sections on the car which are damaged at the moment. And some of you guys have said just bend these back, which I definitely could do, but you know, this one is slightly ripped here, and this one has took a fair shunt in this direction, causing it to crease up here, and bending it, even though it's fine, is not perfect. And while I'm not aiming for perfection back there, this is a bit which is going to be staying exactly as it is. And that is why I have bought this. Jesus Christ, that was a mission to open, but I got there in the end. And this is essentially a chassis leg for, well, it is a chassis leg for an I30N. And I'm not going to be using the whole thing because of the way it's been cut. It's been cut from the front of the strut tower, so it's actually no good. But the bits I need are perfectly fine. So that would be this wing bracket here, and this inner kind of bracket here. Now these are all spot welded on, as you can see, so it should be nice and easy to change over. I don't think on those bits, as far as I can tell, they actually use any seam sealer. Oh no, tell a lie, there's a squiggle of it here, so it's not too bad at all. So luckily the bits that I need are perfectly fine, even though this has come off a damaged car too. So on this one, the wing bracket here at the top is bent, so I'm not going to use that, but this is the one I need, and this one here, which are both perfectly straight. And once you've seen that, you can really tell how damaged this one is. It's punched just here and up there, so even though, like you guys said, you could pull it out, I really don't want to. So hopefully now you understand the method behind my madness a little bit. Now, one thing which I'm not sure about is, like I mentioned already, these are spot welded on. Now, when you drill these spot welds out, it leaves a hole bigger than what the spot weld would have been originally. And with some cars, like I've learnt, some of these are supposed to be replaced with spot welds, and some of them, when being repaired, you're supposed to use self-piercing rivets, because it's not exactly a part of the car which holds any particular structure, it's just a bracket to put the wing in the right position. So self-piercing rivets or spot welds, I'm not sure. So if any of you work for Hyundai and know exactly what I'm supposed to do here, leave a comment down below. But all of that is gonna have to wait until next time. So for now, thank you so much guys for watching this video. I've really been feeling the support recently, and I truly, truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. The button is just down there. Smash a like on the video as well, and I'll catch you guys next time.